I'm just taking a few things into consideration right now regarding the organ harvesting syndicate operating out of Walter Rose and Sons butcher shop in Devizes, overseen by the Wiltshire Police headquarters and the Devizes Police Traficantes. It's all very interesting to consider. So, the homeless people and mental patients, and also these imported Russian mental patients as part of this trafficking scheme, thousands of them every few years. What is happening to them is that they are sacrificed to the Masonic demon gods of the butchers, and then certain body parts of theirs are sold. Certain amounts of their body meat is sold as pork in Rose and Sons butcher shop. There's also a situation in various other butcher shops around the county of Wiltshire, also such as C.J. Robbins in Warminster. There's a similar process going on, and their organs are harvested and then trafficked by Walter Rose and Sons butcher shop refrigerated vans and taken to certain warehouses run by Albanian mobsters, and then the organs are transported to Sicily, apparently, interestingly, where the Albanian mob have connections with the Cosa Nostra and various other networks. Indeed, from there, the organs are transported to Russia, Romania, Israel, and Turkey. But I think there's a sub-project that takes some of the organs to Belgium. So it's all very interesting. Indeed, that's where the NATO headquarters is. So it makes sense that there would be some sort of exchange there. Indeed, I was then thinking, what happens to the bones? Now, what's really interesting about the bones of these slaughtered homeless people and mental patients is that certain Devizes sluts use these bones as dildos. Wouldn't that be a form of necrophilia? So very interesting indeed. Devizes females are notorious for having absolutely no standards, so it's interesting that they would shove bones up their vaginas. Bones of people who have been tortured and raped and abused by Devizes Masonic butchers, and then their organs harvested to foreign shores, and it's all a very, very seedy story indeed. It's all very interesting to me, though, as a researcher. It's all very interesting to interlink the truth about Devizes and Devizes Police and the Wiltshire Police Headquarters, and how it interconnects with other parts of Wiltshire, such as Warminster. The Devizes Police have a contingent here who are watching my every move. Indeed, these are local residents, but they are operative of Devizes Police. So it's all very strange indeed. I've been gang stalked here by networks interconnected with the Warminster military base. It's all very interesting to note that at the time I was beginning to zero in on the organ trade here in Warminster. Indeed, C.J. Robbins, the butcher shop in Warminster, has underground vaults where various members of the homeless population of the United Kingdom and the United States and Russian mental patients are brought to be, in the dead of night, to be sacrificed on the altar, i.e. the butcher slab, to the Masonic demon gods. It's very interesting to analyse this human trafficking network that interlinks with Wiltshire. Indeed, many of the homeless that are brought to the ritual sacrifice sites, i.e. the butcher shops in Wiltshire, are UK citizen mental homeless people and some mental patients. But the majority of the body mass of the Wiltshire butcher shop seems to come from abroad. Indeed, large amounts of the homeless people that have gone missing in the United States have been transported via ship to the southwest of England and thenceforth onto the butcher shops of Wiltshire. It's all very interesting to consider this Masonic ritual sacrifice butcher shop ring is really, really quite a disturbing phenomenon. Indeed, Walter Rose and Sons of Devizes seems to be the main butcher shop that interconnects all these butcher shops. But I believe basically every butcher shop in the county is in on this. And there's a lot of interconnectivity between the butcher shops and the Masonic lodges. Indeed, all of the head butchers and subalterns are Freemasons in the same way that the Wiltshire police operatives are all Freemasons. So it's all very interesting to consider. This is a Masonic ring operated through police and butchers' shops. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, the other major demographic that seems to be ending up on the butcher's slab is Russian mental patients. Indeed, the Wiltshire police have an agreement with the Putin government for human trafficking license. So it's all very interesting. Every few years, i.e., every 4 years, a ship arrives in the Barnstable region with 4,000 Russian mental patients on board who are chained, and they are then split into small groups and transported by a lorry and butchers' vans to Devizes. Some are moved on to other locations, such as C.J. Robbins in Warminster, but the majority are kept in Devizes. So the Devizes residents are ritually slaughtering Russian mental patients, licensed to do so by the Putin regime. Indeed, what makes this even more interesting is that the GRU, i.e. the Russian Military Intelligence Capacity, coordinated by the Kamler and Dietrich factions of the GRU, are involved in this body traffic. So it's all very interesting to consider. The GRU are heavily implicated and very obviously heavily involved in this traffic. What with the GRU being run by Nazi Satanist elements. So it's all very interesting. And these Nazi Satanist elements enjoy ritually sacrificing Slavs, despite being Slavic themselves, though they see themselves as Aryan. These networks also enjoy sacrificing mental patients. So what more joy could they take than sacrificing Slavic mental patients? People of two demographics woven into one that they despise. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, as I've stated, every 4 years, the GRU transports 4,000 Russian mental patients to Vladivostok and then sends them on a round-the-world steamer to the Barnstable region in the United Kingdom, where Albanian mobsters and networks of local British gangsters transport these mental patients to the Devizes butcher's ring. So it's all very interesting to consider. I stumbled upon this truth after I encountered 3 Russian mental patients one night, rather randomly, just off Morris Lane. It was very interesting. We had a nice chat, and I asked them if I could help them escape, but they said it would be better if you expose this place. And I believe about 20 minutes after we parted ways, they were recaptured by Harriet Low Booth's parents, who had sent out a squad to hunt these people down. It is all very interesting that the Low Booths were keeping these Russian mental patients chained in a cellar system beneath one of their many residences in the town of Devizes. So it's all very interesting to consider indeed. Apparently the Rose family are very worried about this trajectory I'm on regarding the Russian mental patients that are being transported, 4,000 of them, every 4 years are transported to Devizes from various locations in psychiatric facilities in Russia, which are run by KGB elements, and then they are trafficked by the GRU, i.e. the Russian military intelligence capacity, and they depart from Vladivostok, go basically around the world, and then are docked at in the Barnstable region, i.e. a few miles from Barnstable on the coast there. And it's all very interesting to consider that they are then transported to Devizes, but who is overseeing this? Well, with Walter Rose and Sons Butcher Shop being the key ingredient in this mixture, it seems that the Rose family are heavily interconnected with this trade, which is interesting considering the Rose family are known to be intimately, in a sense. So it's all very interesting. Yes, intimately, which is all very strange. One member of that family is known to me intimately anyway. The rest are terrible human beings, which is all very interesting to consider. Indeed, the Rose family are still shadow owners of Walter Rose and Sons Butcher Shop, as are the Cartwrights and the Gileses, though the current actual owner is unknown. I had transmissions stating that it was the Harris family, who have a deep interconnectivity to Carl. However, I'm not entirely sure of this, because the actual shadow owner, the true owner of Walter Rose and Sons Butcher Shop, is a MI6 agent from a very, very dark and disturbing agency within MI6 called the Orchids. Indeed, this network, the Orchids, within MI6, are a deep crypto-analysis interagency network. So it's not simply MI6, it's an interagency network, which heavily interconnects with the Putin regime and the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst. So it's very interesting how all of this connects. There we have again a Bavarian Illuminati of 1776 direct link to Devizes operations. Indeed, this is what is so interesting about all of this analysis, is that it all interlinks. Indeed, this chap goes under the title Vincent Melwood Rose. I mentioned him almost 6 years ago, which caused a bit of a stir among the Rose family. Indeed, I also mentioned Roger Rose, who was originally Ed Giles of Devizes Police and Rose's Ironmongers' original tutor and handler, and gave Ed Giles the hexagram for his crypt underneath Rose's Ironmongers, a crypt that directly interconnects with a crypt beneath Walter Rose and Sons Butcher Shop. Now, it's very interesting that we have, on one side of the road, we have Rose's Ironmongers, the Rose family. And on the other side of the road, we have Walter Rose and Sons Butcher's Shop, i.e. the Rose family again. So who is really running the Wiltshire Police operation? It's the Rose family, who are directly interconnected with Rosicrucian networks of British intelligence, i.e. the Simulacrum network, known as the Orchids, who are also, funnily enough, known as the Organs. So it's all very interesting. Indeed, these networks directly interconnect with the KGB. Indeed, the KGB is known as the Organs because of the Orchids, i.e. this Rosicrucian network. Indeed, Rosicrucians were always a branch of Elizabethan intelligence. Indeed, Elizabethan intelligence chiefs created the Rosicrucians. So it's all very interesting to note the Rose family are of a Rosicrucian blood heritage. Now, what's more interesting about that is that the Wayne family are actually a deeply undercover Rosicrucian bloodline, but they're reserved for dirt jobs, which makes a lot of sense considering my history with the Wayne family. So it's all very interesting to consider. As I stated, although I did feel intimacy towards a Rose family member, I did not feel any intimacy towards a Wayne family member, despite the confusion. This is the interesting scenario that is occurring here. Indeed, my time in Devizes was really rather interesting because I was aware of certain blood lineages, etc., but I wasn't letting on to anyone that I was analysing the town in this way. So I hope the viewers on VPNs attempting to make sure that I don't know how many people are watching this are enjoying this little scenario and what was really going on in my head in Devizes, because even to me it's a bit of a mystery. So the Wiltshire Police Headquarters and the Wiltshire Police Crime Commissioner, i.e. the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst operative Philip Wilkinson, and previously the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst operative Angus Macpherson, who was heavily involved with Kurds in child trafficking and gun running, interestingly. So it's all very interesting to consider. These guys are also Freemasons through that Golden Lodge. Now, I was told that Golden Lodge is actually Golden Lodge number 4, not Golden Lodge number 8888. The Wiltshire Police Headquarters Masonic Lodge in the vaults beneath Wiltshire Police Headquarters is actually Golden Lodge number 4, which means it's a slightly different fraternity than the Ugly Networks. It's technically not an Ugly Network, i.e. United Grand Lodge of England Chartered Lodge. It's from the actual police fraternity, which is a slightly different setup. As I was stating, although the Wiltshire Police Commissioner oversees the operations of Devizes Police's little ring, really, which is really, in truth, a butcher shop ring, though the Devizes Police are basically the hired thugs for this ring, and the Devizes Police are running their own satanic child ritual abuse networks. But right now, we're focusing on the butcher's shop. So although the Wiltshire Police Headquarters oversee the operations and activities of the butcher shop, it's actually the Rose family of Devizes who run the show, basically. Indeed, they are chiefly operative for the GRU, interestingly, which is what's really, really strange about all of this, is that the Rose family are chiefly operative for the GRU. Although Vincent Melwood Rose is an MI6 agent, he is also a deeply embedded GRU mole within MI6, which is all very interesting. As I stated, the Rose family are a bit concerned now that I'm talking about these Russian mental patients that are being brought from Russian psychiatric facilities via the Vladivostok docks to the Barnstable region and then on to Devizes. And as I stated, I encountered 3 of these guys one night just off Morris Lane. They were on the run from the Lower Booth family. So it's all very interesting how all of this connects. I hope they're all right. Catty's telling me they're still alive, apparently, and rather enjoying what's happening. So it's all good. Indeed, I can imagine that the Rose family Rosicrucians probably had fear on their faces when they first saw me turn up in Devizes, because they knew I was going to blow open the town. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, the Rose family of Devizes are running this ring through the Walter Rose and Sons butcher's shop organ harvesting complex and directly connecting with the Rose's ironmongers. So the Rose family basically have a monopoly over much of the Devizes police, Devizes populations operations, especially the organ harvesting network. That is literally a Rosicrucian network. What's interesting about this is that the GRU Rose is the Wayne family crest. The GRU Rose, the rose that is used for one of the GRU symbols, is the Wayne family crest. So that's all really rather strange. It's all really odd that all of these Devizes families are interconnecting with the GRU. Indeed. Who originally formed the GRU? British Rosicrucians from Wiltshire. That's what's so interesting about all of this. The GRU were originally formed by a British Rosicrucian network from Wiltshire. So, how interesting is that? That is really interesting. The problem is that the Devizes population, i.e. Freemasonic elements within the Devizes population, are ritually sacrificing 4,000 Russian mental patients every 4 years, as well as about 400 British homeless people every year, and 2,400 American homeless every 6 months. So it's all rather disturbing. What on earth is wrong with these people? Anyway, I'm going to leave it there.